Hello and welcome to another video of DAX Wednesdays. In today's video, we're going to have a look at two DAX functions called RAND, which is nothing but random, and RANDBETWEEN. These two DAX functions belong to the math and trigonometry family of DAX functions. Let's switch to Power BI for our demonstration. We have a data model in which we have a table called random with just one column called product, in which we have different products such as cereals, sugar, cakes, etc. Before I show you how to use these two DAX functions, I would just like to explain what is the purpose of these two DAX functions is. Well, it's very unique in a sense that, for instance, let's say when I'm preparing a data model for my videos on Powerdojo, I use these DAX functions very often, in which we can populate columns with numbers between a certain range or using the parameters that RAND and RANDBETWEEN provides us. So for instance, let's say I want to prepare a data model in which we want to have the price or the cost of all these products. So there are two methods in which I can populate another column over here called price or cost by simply, let's say, clicking on this new column. In the first column, we're going to populate the column using the RAND DAX function, price, random, and type in RAND. So RAND is a bit unique. It doesn't take any parameters at all. So we don't need to put in any parameters inside the brackets. Now, what kind of values it will generate for us? Now, if I were to click on enter, you will see it has provided to us values which are between equal to or greater than 0 or below 1. And as you can see, it has provided us the values in decimal points. Now, what if I don't want it in this manner? So you can, let's say, first of all, change this to multiplied by 100 and then take that value and put it in an integer DAX function. So that way we'll have numbers like these, which makes sense for our data model. Now, this was one method in which I can populate columns for my data model. Now, I'll show you the other manner in which you can create random values, which is random between. We call this column price random between. Now, the difference between rand and random between is rand between takes in parameters. In this DAX function, we can provide the range in which we want the values to be. For instance, if I want values in between, let's say 20 and 2. So the bottom range is 2, whereas the top range will be 20. I'll close the bracket. And you'll see it has provided me values which are not in the decimal format, which is much more convenient than rand, because you remember if we over here we had to add a few additional parameters in order to get values like this. So these are the two methods in which you can populate columns using random values. Now, these two DAX functions are categorized as volatile DAX functions. The reason is, if I were to refresh, let's say, our data, you will see all the values will change every time I refresh it. Now you see this is 32, which was not the case before. This is 15. And if I were to click on the refresh, you see cereals price random has been turned to 82, whereas price random between 14. So these values are dynamic. They change every time irrespective of the other values in the individual rows that remain static, but these values are dynamic. So you need to be careful when you are using these DAX functions. Make sure that if you want to populate certain columns to test something in the development environment, yes, you can do that, but make sure these DAX functions do not end up in the reports or your data model, which are meant to be used in reports for the production environment. So be careful for when you are using these two DAX functions. Now you might be saying, apart from populating columns in data models for YouTube videos, you don't see much purpose or a utility for using these two DAX functions. Yes, that's true. But having said that, there is one example in which you rand or random between can help you. When I say help, for instance, let's imagine you have a data model in which you are stuck with the rankings. For instance, when the visualization that you see on your screen, if I were to pick the top two based on the jersey numbers, let's see if I filter the player names using the top end filter and using the jersey number as the filter, and if I have to show items only the the bottom two in this case, and say apply filter, you see Power BI has returned to me 3 rows, whereas I only asked it to provide me 2. This is where you'll need a tiebreaker in for these 2 rows, to Mbappe to Ronaldo. So how to have a tiebreaker between these two? This is where the rand DAX function can be used. So you go back to your table view over here in your tiebreaker table, you create a new column. Let's call it tiebreaker jersey number. I'll type in rand. Remember, rand doesn't take in any parameters, and I'll type in the jersey number column, which belongs to the tiebreaker table. Let's click on OK. Now you see it has provided to me 2 decimal numbers for the row which has Ronaldo and Mbappe. Now if I were to go back in the report view, and instead of using the jersey number as the filter, I will put in the tiebreaker jersey number column as a filter, and I'll click on apply filter. Now you'll see it has taken into consideration the tiebreaker jersey number value. For this case it was 2.39, which was less than that for Mbappe. So it has only kept the 2 rows, and it has helped us to keep only the top 2 jersey numbers in our data model. So this is a real life example in which you can use RAND in order to have a tiebreaker between 2 rows or 2 entities or 2 elements which are tied on a rank, which was the case in our data model, which we have just solved. So that's it for our video on RAND and RAND between. Let me know in the comments below what you thought about this video. Do not forget to like and subscribe. I will see you in the next video.